Okay, welcome back. This is Negotiating with Jesus. I am Tom. I'm going to give a quick run through of some of the ideas we're going to go through on youth group today. We're going to try and cover some scripture. At different times, I'll do different types of discussion. Sometimes it seems like a lot of cultural talk or a lot of just discussing what life is like. And sometimes we try and take apart a Bible verse. So today, lately we've been talking about heaven and hell. Heaven and hell. And I said to the students, today we're going to hell. That was a couple of weeks ago. So the reason I want to do some things like that is a bit to be shocking, maybe. So I do say things to try and bring in more excitement than there really is. But the word hell is a strange word. I used it with some younger students one time, and they all said, "Oh, he said a bad word," and we're taught that it's a bad word. It's certainly something that would be very bad to condemn someone to tell someone go to hell. Is a pretty harsh thing to say. It's in essence saying it's the idea that Jesus said, if you even consider, if you even hate somebody, it's like murdering them. Jesus in the Matthew 5-7, the Sermon on the Mount, he brings commandments to even a stronger position. He says things like, you ought not cheat. You ought not cheat on your wife. Adultery is bad, but even if you look at a woman with lust, it's like adultery. So, and murder, of course you should not murder. But even if you look at someone with hate, it's the same. So Jesus really levels this playing field that nobody is particularly way better than another, and we often do judge people that way. So Jesus is talking to Pharisees. When I say we're going to hell, it's a journey through several chapters of the Bible. The one that in particular that everyone knows is from Luke 16, when we see Lazarus and the rich man, and there's this story told that Lazarus is a poor beggar, and he's just has a very, very harsh life, a very hard, difficult life, sores, poverty, friendless, just this terrible life. And people of means just walk past him, nobody giving anything. And then the story is told to the Pharisees. So there's something to the story that I think we're not getting. We're going to take a quick look at Luke 14-16. We're going to go through some of the stories. And the idea that I want you to get here is Jesus is talking to Pharisees, and he's at their house. He's sitting with them. He's enjoying food with them, but he's going to tell them something that's important for them to know. So he goes to a Pharisee's house, and a man comes in, and he has some kind of disease, and they call it dropsy, and maybe it's that he can't hold with his hands. He can't hold on to things. So Jesus is going to heal him, and all the Pharisees are watching, the teachers of the law. They're like, is he about to heal on the Sabbath? You better not. We've got our eyes on you, and they're doing that to Jesus all the time. We're always like, Jesus, I'm watching you. You better be doing what's right. So the Pharisees watch, and he says, he's frustrated as can be with these Pharisees who are teachers of the law. They're supposed to be telling and training people how to approach God. How do you approach God? And you do it with an upright heart. Your sacrifices, God says over and over, I'm not here for sacrifices. Do you think I'm a human, that I'm hungry? Do you think I need a house, that I'm a human, that I need to live indoors? Don't you know I created the entire universe? What are you guys thinking? Why do you keep doing this? I'm trying to tell you what I'm really about, and it's love, it's mercy, it's justice. And the Pharisees and teachers of the law continue to discount what God really is saying and make it some kind of power play or about what they think is what's going on. So they're watching Jesus. Jesus heals, and on the Sabbath, and of course they're shocked and they're angry and they're offended. He goes on. We're going to move through the next parable is the parable of the Great Supper, but he also talks about if you're invited to a wedding, take a seat. Don't take the seat of honor. Take the lowest seat That way, if they see you sitting in a seat that's the most humble seat, they might say to you, come here, sit in this special seat, and you'll be upgraded. Don't go into first class and have them say, your seat's back in coach, buddy. Jesus says, do it the other way. Always do it the other way. Take a humble position. And the Pharisees, it's a pointed lesson to the Pharisees. He's saying, stop thinking you're in some special position. Stop it. And he's very frustrated. Then the parable of the Great Supper. The guy is having a feast, and the people he invites can't come. And he says, I'm so frustrated with you. You're too important to come to my special meal. I'm going to invite the lame, the sick, the poor. I'm going to fill up my banquet, so when you guys are done with all your tasks and you come knocking on the door, it's going to be like, well, sorry, no seats left. Sorry, full up. And it's like that velvet rope that they're like, I'm very special. I should be welcomed at this event. And you're like, nope, sorry, back of the line. You do not get in. He talks about leaving all to follow Jesus. And then salt, that great phrase that I say that I love. Salt is good. If salt loses its flavor, how shall it season? What are you supposed to do with salt that's not salty? You can't salt it. It's worth nothing. You throw it out. And we're supposed to have that salty nature, that we preserve things, that we are a flavor in the world. Then we have the parables of the lost sheep, leaving the 99 behind to find the one. Now we're in chapter 15 here. Chapter 15, leaving the 99. So we went through 14, and he's talking to Pharisees, but his disciples and the poor, sinners, and tax collectors are around him. And tax collectors are here, and the Pharisees are going, they're talking to themselves, amongst themselves, and they're like, this guy, Jesus, he's eating with tax collectors and sinners. They're unclean. They shouldn't be in his presence. I don't even want him in my presence. If he's some holy man, he shouldn't be sitting with sinners. And Jesus is like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You guys think you're in the most important position. I'm telling you, you're not. So the 99, Jesus says about leaving the 99 to find one, and how you rejoice. All of heaven rejoices when one lost sinner is found. The parable of the lost coin, another lost thing that's found. Then the parable of the lost son, this great story of the prodigal son, the lost son who receives his inheritance from his father, goes off and lives a lifestyle of debauchery and blows all the money on prostitutes and wild living. He goes to like Vegas, and whatever happens in Vegas, we don't even want to know what this kid did with his money. He gambled, he drank a lot, he was offering women cash for favors, and it was just a lot of foolishness. He's out of money, he's at the end of his rope, begging for food. He has nothing. No one will give him any food. He sits with pigs, and he's envious of the pig's meal. He's supposed to be feeding pigs, and he's like, man, I wish you guys would invite me in. I'd eat with you pigs. And pigs, of course, unclean animal. He'd eat with the pigs. He thinks about his father. He left his father, and he thinks, if I could just be a position of a hired man, then I would be set for life. I wouldn't be starving to death. So he goes back and repents to his father. This is a story pointed toward the Pharisees, because the son comes back and the father welcomes him. He was dead, now he's alive. He was lost, now he's found. The father welcomes him back and is delighted that his son has returned from the dead, the lost son. And then the other son, who also received his inheritance, is very angry, and he represents Pharisees who sit there and say, I am not breaking bread with this kid. This kid took your money, wasted it. He's a poor excuse for a son. I'm the son who deserves a party. You're celebrating this son. I'm the son that should be celebrated. And in some way, he's locking this older son, wants to close the door. He won't break bread. He won't celebrate with his father about the return of his son. They want to be gatekeepers. The Pharisees want to be gatekeepers and close the door and say, I am not going to participate in any kingdom that allows that person back. And Jesus is saying, are you kidding me? I am the gate. They're coming in through me. And if I welcome this boy back, you better believe he's in. I love him. And if you close any gates, you're going to be on the outside, like that banquet I just told you about. If you don't come to this party, you're going to be left outside because I'm going to welcome people like this in, and you're going to be stuck outside. Don't close the gates, he's telling them. Then there's an unjust steward, a guy who uses money wisely. He's about to be fired. As his boss thinks about firing him, this guy quick makes some deals and reduces the debt of several people who owe the boss a lot of money. He reduces their debt, and then all these people who owe to this shrewd manager's boss, they all like the guy who's about to be fired because he reduced their debt. He's like, if I'm going to get fired, I might as well get fired right. And he does this crazy stuff. And then the manager goes, wow, I was firing you, and you quick made some arrangements to make yourself look very good in the eyes of my customers. I want to keep my customers, but that was pretty shrewd. You made a lot of friends with generosity in money. And he says, boy, that's pretty wise. That's smart. So then we get to this, the idea, you can't serve two masters. You can't serve God and money. You'll love one and hate the other. The Pharisees loved money. And Jesus again is saying, this is a story about you. You guys are not being wise. You love money too much. Then finally we get to this parable of the rich man and Lazarus. And the rich man represents these Pharisees. The rich man walks past poor people, poor sinners every day. Lazarus is having a terrible time. He's unclean. And the rich man walks past him day after day. He has plenty of wealth that he could do something. He could do something to help. But no, that's just a lowly dirtbag. I'm not interested in helping his kind. I'm a special man. I have favor with God. Well, then when the tides turn, Lazarus, suffering his whole life, is taken into Abraham's bosom. And he's sitting there with Abraham, and Abraham's got his arm around him and said, you suffered in life. Now we're going to give you peace and shalom, this wonderful life that is a heavenly reward. And the rich man who lived an entire life of comfort, never lifting a finger to help this poor beggar Lazarus, now all of a sudden the tables have turned, and it's 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times worse for the rich man. He's now facing great suffering as great, much greater than Lazarus ever suffered. He's so thirsty, he's burning up. And the idea is, if you guys are not wise, if you aren't wise about the ways of God, if you continue to cast people out as not good enough for you to interact with, one day woe be to you. He has blessings and woes. Woe is you if you can't behave rightly. You will face a great turnaround, and it will not be good for you. So that is Luke 14 through 16. I will talk to you a little later next time. If you don't go to youth group, come watch this video, like and subscribe, and hit the notification, write some comments down below. I'll talk to you later.